Imagine pulling up to your driveway after a quick weekend away, only to find your entire life reduced to a steaming pile of ash and twisted metal, courtesy of a clipboard-wielding busybody who thinks unpaid grass-trimming fees justify arson. That's the nightmare that slapped me awake one crisp autumn morning in Willow Bend, a cookie-cutter suburb in upstate New York where picket fences hide more knives than a butcher shop. But hold on, because this isn't just a tale of destruction. It's a slow-burn revenge symphony where the underdog turns the tables so hard, the tyrants end up begging for mercy. It all started innocently enough, or so I thought. My name's Alex Rivera, a 62-year-old retired teacher who'd spent the last decade turning my modest bungalow into a sanctuary. After losing my partner, Maria, to a long battle with illness, I poured my soul into that place, planting a garden she would have loved, installing solar panels for that green living vibe, and even adding a little birdhouse workshop in the backyard where I taught neighborhood kids basic woodworking. Willow Bend was supposed to be paradise. Manicured lawns, community potlucks, and that fake-friendly wave from every passing minivan. But lurking beneath was the Willow Bend Homeowners Association, ruled by none other than Patricia "Patty" Wilkins, the self-appointed queen of conformity. Patty was the epitome of suburban royalty gone rogue, a 55-year-old divorcee with a perm that screamed, "I manage a PDA like it's the Pentagon." She paraded around in pastel cardigans, quoting bylaws like scripture, all while sipping herbal tea from a mug that probably said, "Live, laugh, enforce." On the surface, she was all smiles and, for the good of the community. But scratch that veneer, and you'd find a control freak who treated minor infractions like federal crimes. Her weapon? Endless fines for nonsense. Too many holiday lights, grass blades over 3 inches, or God forbid, a mailbox that's not in harmony with the aesthetic guidelines. And me? I was her latest fixation, all because I dared to exist a little outside her perfect lines. The whispers started small, like weeds in my garden. I'd hear them at the grocery store. "Did you know Alex lets those birds crap everywhere? It's unsanitary." Or online in the neighborhood Facebook group, "Rivera's yard is an eyesore. Bet he's squatting or something shady." Patty fueled it all, posting passive-aggressive updates like, "Reminder, true neighbors respect the rules that keep our values high. Let's all do our part." I knew it was aimed at me. My violations? A bird feeder that attracted nuisance wildlife, solar panels that clashed with the roofline, and unpaid fees totaling a whopping $548 because I disputed a bogus landscaping charge. I ignored it at first, figuring silence was the high road. Big mistake. In HOA land, silence means surrender. One Tuesday evening, I came home from tutoring at the local library to find a neon pink notice slapped on my door. Notice of violation, unauthorized structures and delinquent dues. Immediate compliance required or face abatement. Abatement sounded like pest control, not a threat to my home. I crumpled it up, tossed it in the recycle bin, and went inside to water my tomatoes. But Patty wasn't done. The next day, her minion, a pudgy guy named Gary, the enforcement coordinator who drove a golf cart like it was an armored tank, knocked on my door. "Mr. Rivera," he said, adjusting his clip-on tie, "President Wilkins requests your presence at the next board meeting. It's about maintaining standards. You understand." I showed up, figuring I'd clear the air. The meeting was in the community clubhouse, a bland room smelling of stale coffee and entitlement. Patty sat at the head table, flanked by her yes-men board, a banker, a realtor, and a stay-at-home mom who nodded like a bobblehead. "Alex," she cooed, her voice dripping with faux concern. We're all about community here. But your enhancements, they're disrupting the harmony. And those dues, $5.48 isn't much to ask for the privilege of living in Willow Bend. Is it? I laid out my receipts, explained the solar panels were eco-friendly, and pointed out the bird feeder was for the kids' education project. Privilege, I replied calmly. I bought this house fair and square. These rules feel more like excuses to nickel and dime folks. Her smile tightened, eyes narrowing behind her bifocals. Oh, dear. It's not about you, it's about us. Without rules, we'd be no better than those unkempt subdivisions down the road. Think of the property values. The room murmured agreement. A few neighbors shooting me sideways glances like I'd suggested hosting a rave. I left without a word, but inside, I was cataloging every hypocrisy. Patty's own yard had a gaudy fountain that violated height limits, but hey, she wrote the exceptions. That night, the rumors amped up. Rivera's anti-community, someone posted. Probably dodging taxes too. I stayed quiet, but I started documenting photos of her violations, copies of every notice. Patience, I told myself. Knowledge is the real power. Things simmered for weeks. I paid what I could, disputed the rest, but the fines doubled like a bad investment. $548 became $1,096 overnight. Then came the lien notice from the county. Patty had filed it without a hearing, claiming my property was blighted. Blighted? My house was pristine compared to the McMansion eyesores popping up. I visited the courthouse, only to get shrugged off by a board clerk. HOA matters, sir. Take it up with them. That's when I bumped into my neighbor, Elaine Thompson, a sharp-witted retired librarian in her late 60s. She saw the lien in my hand and chuckled dryly. Patty's playbook. She did the same to the Wilsons. Fined them out of their home for improper holiday decor. Now it's a vacation rental owned by her cousin's firm. Elaine offered to help dig through records. No charge, she said with a wink. I love toppling petty dictators. I took a short trip that weekend to clear my head, volunteering at a community garden expo. Something Maria and I used to do. Fresh air. New ideas for my backyard. But when I drove back Sunday evening, the air wasn't fresh. It reeked of charred wood and regret. My street was cordoned off with caution tape, emergency lights flashing like a bad disco. Where my bungalow stood was a smoldering crater. Foundation cracked, garden bulldozed, birdhouses pulverized. A sign staked in the rubble read, "Property abetted by Willow Bend HOA. Order WB 4521. For community safety." Safety? From what? Happy birds? I staggered out of my car, knees buckling like cheap folding chairs. Neighbors peeked from curtains, whispering. A fire truck idled nearby. The chief, a guy named Bob I'd barbecued with once, avoiding my gaze. "Alex," he muttered, clipboard in hand. "Official burn and demo." HOA said it was condemned. Abandoned and hazardous. Abandoned? I'd been gone 48 hours. Hazardous how? I demanded, voice steady despite the rage bubbling. He shrugged. Unpaid fines. Violations piling up. They had paperwork. Paperwork. That word would haunt me. I sifted through the ashes, finding a scorched photo of Maria in our garden, her laugh frozen in time. Grief hit like a freight train, but so did resolve. This wasn't an accident. It was a declaration of war, wrapped in bureaucratic bows. That night, I crashed at a motel, mind racing. By morning, I was back, pitching a tent in the woods behind what used to be my lot. Technically still my land, out of sight from the road. If Patty wanted me erased, she'd have to do it face to face. The rumors exploded. Rivera's gone rogue, camping like a vagrant. Patty posted in the group. Sad to see non-compliance lead to this, but rules protect us all. Let's move forward positively. Positively, she torched my life over pocket change. I set up trail cams, capturing every gawker, every drive-by. Elaine swung by with coffee and a stack of printouts. She's done this before, she whispered. 3 families last year, fines escalate, liens, foreclosures. Properties flip to Willow Bend Realty Partners. Guess who's on the board? Patty's ex-husband. We needed proof. Elaine filed for the original 1972 subdivision plat maps. When they arrived, we pored over them in her garage. My lot, just outside the HOA jurisdiction, grandfathered in as independent. Patty had no legal teeth over me. She assumed, Elaine smirked. Hubris is a hell of a drug, but a boundary error wasn't enough. We needed malice. Patty obliged by filing a trespass complaint against me for squatting on my own ashes. Genius. That triggered court proceedings, opening doors to subpoenas and discoveries. I made calls. First, to a local blogger, Jenna Hayes, infamous for exposing small-town scandals. They burned my house over fake fines, I told her. Now arresting me for mourning it. She paused. I'm in meet tomorrow. Second, to my old college buddy, Marcus Lee, a corporate lawyer who sniffed out loopholes like a bloodhound. Dig into Willow Bend Community Holdings, I said. Days later, he called back, cackling. Jackpot, Alex. The HOA leases their common areas, clubhouse, roads, parks from a defunct shell company, Benview Estates LLC. Dissolved 8 years ago for unpaid taxes, $1,200. Pay it, revive it, and you own the keys to their kingdom. I blinked. You mean I could landlord the HOA? Precisely. The next day, I waltzed into the state office with a check. 45 minutes later, I was CEO of Benview Estates, controller of every inch the HOA touched. Kept it hush, printing notices after dark. To Willow Bend HOA, lease terminated for violations. Access revoked. Trespassers prosecuted. Alex Rivera, owner. I taped them everywhere. Bulletin boards. Gary's golf cart. His face when he peeled one off, priceless, like a kid caught with candy. The backlash was swift and hilariously unhinged. Patty fired off a cease and desist via her attorney-nephew, accusing me of fraudulent interference and slanderous vigilantism. Slander? From the woman who branded me a squatter? I photocopied her letter, posted it publicly with a note. They razed my home with forged orders. Faked liens. Tried to jail me on my property. Bullied? Meet at the library Thursday. Time to flip the script. I half expected crickets, but the place overflowed. Seniors with faded flags on their laps. Families clutching fine stacks. Vets sharing war stories turned HOA horror tales. One grandma stood. She fined me $150 for my grandson's bike on the porch. Said it was clutter. He's in a wheelchair. A dad chimed in, called my work truck commercial, and slapped a lien while I was deployed. Commercial? It's a Ford. Laughter mixed with groans. the absurdity hitting home. I shared my saga. The ashes, the lies, the $1,200 coup. Documents passed around like hot gossip. The chant started, "Boot them out! Boot them out!" We stormed the next HOA meeting, a circus of khakis and clipboards. Patty entered in her power blazer, smirking like she owned gravity. Not anymore. I approached the podium, laying out papers, revival docs, lease, termination. "Your empire's built on sand," I said evenly. "And I'm the tide." Her face paled to milk. "This is outrageous. You can't just—" "I did. And here's a complaint to the AG, signed by 65 residents. Fraud, embezzlement, property destruction." The room roared. Patty sputtered, "For the community, we maintain order," but no one bought it. A week later, she sued me for libel. Big oops. Discovery unleashed hell. Emails showing forged orders, kickbacks to her ex's company, altered minutes. The HOA's insurer bailed, leaving her exposed. Trial day arrived. 6 months of simmering tension boiling over. Elaine prepped me like a coach. Patty strutted in, tourney in tow, but her poise cracked under cross-exam. Ms. Wilkins, my pro bono lawyer, a friend of Elaine's, asked, "Is this your signature on the abatement forgery?" She stammered. "And on checks to your family's shell firm?" The clerk confirmed fakes. A exporter spilled on rigged votes. The judge, a no-nonsense vet himself, leaned forward. Recess. Ms. Wilkins, my chambers. Now, no cuffs, but the writing was on the wall. Patty pled guilty to fraud, racketeering, vandalism, 3 years prison, no early out. Board cronies paid restitution. Bankrupted. The HOA voted dissolved, replaced by a volunteer co-op. No fines, just neighborly help. With my payout, I rebuilt bigger, a community center for kids and vets. Maria's garden blooming eternal. Jenna's story went viral, from rubble to rebellion. The HOA that burned itself. Now, Willow Bend breathes easy. No patrols, just potlucks. I keep a tiny shed on the old spot, reminder of the fire that forged us. They thought paperwork could bury dreams, but ink fades, resilience doesn't. So, tell me, if a HOA Karen torched your world over nonsense rules, would you roll over or rise from the ashes? Right or wrong? Drop your take below, because in the end, who's the real threat to community?